Welcome to the Off 199 podcast. We are your co-hosts, Jay,
Music Nerd,
and Dap.
We're just a few Miami boys who love talking about South Florida sports and want to bring it to you. So, without further ado,
Off 199 starts now.
All right, what's going on, Off 199 fans? Welcome to another rendition of Off 199. Unfortunately, we are missing one of our hosts today, but we do have a special guest, my classmate, Frank Ammirati, correspondent for DolphinsTalk.com. Introduce yourself, Frank.
How you doing? My name's Frank Ammirati. Like you just said, DolphinsTalk.com. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, we are really looking forward to having you on today. And of course, my co-host, leader, Jay. How you doing today?
My fault. I had to change something real quick. Hey y'all boys, how y'all doing, man? I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for about the past month. Football's back. Dolphins are back. I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
All right. Like you said, today we have the NFL preview today. We have been literally looking forward to this one. So we're going to start off by previewing the Dolphins and talk about the AFC East and talk about the AFC and the NFC. And plus, there have been a couple things that have happened today. We know that we will not be releasing this today, but there are still a couple things that we want to update on everybody else. So first things first, we're going to preview the season for the Dolphins. We're going to start off with you. What do you think is the best case scenario for the fans this season?
Oh, we starting with me?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Guess always go first, bro.
Need a flag in the background, so I'm going to say that the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. I have to put, it, and
that's all I have to hear.
Honestly, look, with the roster they just built, with the talent they have, with the work they've been doing, it's Super Bowl year. It has to be, right? It has to be. Yeah. It's been 51 years.
51 years. That's the perfect season. Yeah.
Yes, it has been 51 years, 72.
Yeah. So it's about that time. I think we're due. A little overdue.
I feel you on that.
Little.
What about you, Jay? What do you think?
I'm looking at a schedule. I can see us finishing second or third in the AFC, winning the AFC East, especially with the news coming out of Buffalo, I think today and yesterday, with Stephon Diggs, which I think will be a huge blow to them.
Well, he did refute it.
He refuted it?
He came out and refuted it. He refuted that he asked for a trade. But
all right, so what's up with Stephen A, man? Stephen A, chill out, bro.
But you know how Stephen A jumps to conclusions from what he hears. But now, I'll say this. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So there is something going on there. I just don't, they're saying, Stephon Diggs saying the right things right now. But there's something else going on there. We don't know.
Let me ask y'all, what do y'all think is going on for real? Because this has been going on for a couple months. Like, what do you think is going on?
Well, I think he was really frustrated in the Cincinnati game. I think felt like he didn't get the ball enough, and I felt like I think he felt that they were better than the Bengals, but yet they lost. And that's frustrating.
Did you feel like during the Dolphins wild card game, he didn't get the ball enough?
A little bit, but things are different when you win. You're not gonna say, like, even with wide receivers, you're not gonna say much when you win. But when you lose and you don't get the ball and you feel like you can contribute, yeah, you're gonna have something to say. Especially when you have some of the ability of Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs is the top 5 receiver in this league. Still is. And his connection with Josh Allen is really special. So that's got to be frustrating. But, at the same time, when you're the best receiver on the team, they're gonna key in on you. I think that's what the Bengals did. Also, I think that's what the Dolphins tried to do. I think the Dolphins tried to take away Diggs and let other people beat them. Unfortunately, other people beat them with us when we played them in the wild card. But there were a lot of things going on with that game. So
I have my thoughts about that. What do you think, Frank?
Well, here's the thing. Like with Stephon Diggs, he follows that diva wide receiver thing, right? So he needs to be force fed. He needs to be utilized. And I feel that he's good enough. He's earned that right. But at the end of the day, look what happened all season long with Josh Allen force feeding. He kept throwing interceptions, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't best for what was going forward. So I think they need to figure it out. I have a feeling that that Josh and Stephon haven't communicated very well, because that's what they said during the offseason. There's talked about their communication not being very great. So yeah, that may be something to look out for. But I think also that's better for us. So going forward. Because for me, like when it comes to best case scenario, I do think the Dolphins can win the AFC East. I really do. I think they have the talent to. one, I think they need to get Ramsey back as fast as possible, but also you can't rush him. You have a lot of investment in him as well.
I don't think they need to rush him either.
But I think if the defense, if the pass rush is where we can think it's going to be. Now, best case scenario, I think if we can get 2 double-digit sack people in Phillips and Chubb, then I think that's definitely you'll see the best version of that defense, and we'll be able not to rely so much on that offense as we had to. Also, the running game, I think you have two running backs who averaged almost 5 yards a carry last year. If we can go forward with that and then take a little bit of pressure off Tua, and then also if we can get if we can get what Tyreek wants and what he said he's going to get, this season can be really special. It can be like a Super Bowl season. The Dolphins have all the tools for it. The only thing I don't like is just, like as far as worst case, I don't like the lack of depth that they have a little bit. But at the same time, top heavy talent, I love that. All right, so that goes into what is the worst case scenario that you guys see to this week? Go ahead, Jim.
My bad. For you, really bad. I'm gonna have to cut that out for you, and I'll post off.
All right.
I think coming back from like the worst case scenario, if Tua is not what we think he is, and the defense is worse than we think it is. I think worst case scenario we go 6-10. Worst case, even though I think that's a stretch. That's the worst case.
I do think Miami has enough talent even with the worst case to go 9-8 still. Right, but this is a tough schedule. I know I do.
I haven't been really impressed by our backups.
It's a really tough schedule.
I haven't been impressed by our backups.
No, I feel you on that. But what I'm coming into is my coaching. That's what I think, because I'm more impressed with the coach. I think they will be able to adapt. So what do you think, Frank? What's the worst case scenario for Miami?
Honestly, worst case scenario right now, you just made the playoffs last year. Worst case scenario is missing them. If you miss the playoffs right now and, let's say you go third in the AFC East, or fourth, God forbid. But
we don't want that.
Adding to your team, regardless if Ramsey comes back sooner than expected or like at the end of the season, you now have expectations to go there again. So for me, worst case is missing the playoffs. Like either way, I don't care if it happens if we're 10-7 and we miss playoffs, or 9-8. Like I don't even want to think less than 9 or 10 wins.
Well, that's a good point, because one, we'll be right where we were with Flores. Then if we go 10 wins and miss the playoffs, so then there's no steps forward. Whole point, what I wanted, and I've said this on the podcast before, is I want to go forward. Like I hated the stagnancy that we had with Gase, with Philbin, all those coaches. Even with Flores, I thought we were going forward, but still we were missing the playoffs after having all these great seasons and stuff or better seasons for us, I should say. They weren't great, but they're better than what we were having. But then we weren't going anywhere. The whole point is to move forward, I feel. All right. So
what is y'all ceiling record and bottom record? Floor record.
Ceiling record for me, I think, is 13-4. Floor record, I would say 7-10. What about you, Frank?
I would say ceiling is probably 14-3, because I look at the schedule and there's 3 games that I think will give us the hardest time. But maybe it's just me being a homer, but I think there's for sure that will give us an absolute hard time. Everybody else we should be able to beat based on their current talent.
Well, Frank, if you being a homer, I'm saying 15-2. So but when I look at the schedule, I'm like, look, there's only like 2 teams on the schedule. I'm like, we probably won't win that. Other than that, I feel like we can beat everybody on the schedule.
We should, but you're gonna.
I'll say this. Definitely with the schedule, the AFC is basically AFC East and AFC West going to be competing for that number 1 seed. It looks like whoever comes out of it, because we play each other all up. Mm-hmm. So, and getting the NFC East though is not doing us any favors, but still.
I mean, they're not that good.
Honestly, all of them, in my opinion, all the teams in NFC East, even the Cowboys are well coached. They have really good coaches, so usually they're able to have good schemes. Washington's probably the least talented team in the NFC East, but they always give people problems. So that's someone to look out for. So that's why the NFC East is usually a problem. The Cowboys, everyone says about that, they've averaged 11, 12 wins the last 5 seasons and been in playoffs 4 to 5. Wow. Yeah, so they're going to be a tough out. All right, let's talk about the Ramsey injury. Best outlook from what we've told was actually at first was opening week. Now, because he had the surgery, it looks like it's more like December. How can Miami survive without him? Let's start off with you, Frank.
Honestly, I've been going to the training camps, and
Mhm.
I'm going to say about Jalen Ramsey. That man is dedicated and has heart that I didn't see from certain other injured cornerbacks we had on our team in the past. I don't have to say any names, but Ramsey was out there, his second day after surgery on crutches, coaching up the guys like Kader Kohu and Cam Smith and the whole cornerback room. He was on the field with crutches talking to them boys. 2 days later, at the next training camp, no crutches.
Just
Like,
walk.
either that man's got Wolverine genes,
or he's
buddy,
invested. He wants to, yeah. He
but
wants this.
he's got my respect. And whenever he comes back, I'm ready for him to be on that field. But I think it'll be sooner than December.
Okay.
I think so.
Jan, what do you think? And one that's encouraging too if he's coaching up Cam Smith because that's what we're gonna need. Because I really like that pick back then too because I was like, hey, that provides that depth. You got that third corner and stuff. This if something happens like last year. So
based off last year, I feel a lot more confident in the cornerback room than last year. We had an unproven rookie in Kader Kohu and what's called went down before. I forget his name.
with Jones, and then
not,
they
not
lost
Brandon
Needham.
Needham went down. That was I think
Yeah.
that hurt us a lot too. But looking at we got Eli Apple now, and looking at our depth, even in the preseason, hasn't been too bad. I'm confident. I'm not. Well, Kader does have to do some more development. I didn't particularly like what I saw from him last game, but I'm pretty confident we'll be all right. We'll be better than last year. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, I actually got to watch the game because it's hard out here in Texas to get the games, but I actually got the Houston game and I was able to look at it. Part of it's like, okay, it's a preseason game, but still, the defensive numbers were really impressive, even against a team that I consider weak in the Texans and from my up. Because the Texans going to go out there, they're going to play a lot more of their starters because they have a younger team. So I think the execution with the defense was really well. Now they bent a little bit, but they never broke. And for me, and I felt like there was a couple of lucky things because there are a couple of lucky drops I felt like they had, but they were in position to make plays a lot of times. They were very out of position very little time. Like a couple of times I felt they out of position. I was upset. But other than that, like it was, I think 130 yards they gave up, 3 points, like the least amount in preseason for like a decade. So it really looked impressive. But one to hear that Ramsey's out there engaged with the cornerback room is impressive because with this defense, no matter what has it, because the way that it's set up, you need good corners. You really do need corners. And I think that's what hurt us last year, not having Jones and not having all the other corners that we had and having to rely on in Hoganaby or whatever Noah's name is. And there times he stepped up in the Pittsburgh game. He did. But, and I heard good things from Campbell before, but I'm still a little worried about him, to be honest.
Well, he's training down from what I hear now.
So, but Cam Smith, I'm excited about. Needham, I'm excited about. The development, I'm excited about. Now you kind of got to get baptized in the fire. You got to hope that Howard regains a little bit more of that Pro Bowl form because it was still there last year. It just, he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So we gotta hope that pass rush is what we think it can be. But I'm excited though. I really like this team. For the first time in a very long time, I am really excited about. But all right, let's talk about some of the losing out on Cook this year. Now, I was a little bit disappointed in it, but then when I looked at the numbers that we had, it's just not Miami did not have a lot because one, this is an expensive team. And that's one thing too. That's why we have to do it this year. This is a very expensive team going forward. What Cook was asking for, from what we heard, is just wasn't going to fit. So for me, is it really that much of a loss losing out on Cook, or is the biggest part of it losing him to the Jets? What do you think, Frank?
I'm gonna be real with you. It sucks that he's a Jet. It's terrible. I like Dalvin Cook. I've always liked Dalvin Cook. I met Dalvin Cook down here one day when he was just running up by my house, like he was training. So I met him in person. Like he's super cool. Now he's a Jet. So now he gets
sucks.
That's it. I think it's going to hurt us. Not as bad as everybody says it might. I think our run defense with Christian Wilkins in the middle, Dalvin Cook might get a rude awakening. First time to come up against him. But then again, it's Dalvin Cook. He's obviously a perennial Pro Bowler, so he's a good back. It's gonna hurt, but not as much as I think people are saying it will.
I mean, separate from that long run he had against us when he was with Minnesota last year, he didn't have a great day.
No,
other
he
than that
didn't.
long run, which
But
killed us, I would say.
Yeah, that's the thing. The long run ended up being the winning game. It's like, this. That's the thing about him. I feel like he shows out. That's why I'm like, I was hoping he'd be out the division if he didn't land with us.
Yeah.
But like, if 2 games against us, like 2 chances for him to kind of break our hearts, because we can't lose to the Jets if for our aspirations this year. In my opinion, we got to win both those games.
The thing about Dalvin is, man, like he decided to be a Seminole, broke my heart. He decided to be a Jet, that ain't gonna break my heart again. It's like, you know what, man? Like, I can't do like, you the op now. Like, I can't. You did it twice. You the op now. So like, don't worry about it, bro. Like, we fine over here. We got a deep saddle over here. We good over here. It's all good, man. And all love. I know you do bring back to the community, so I'm happy with that. Being from Miami and also, but still, you the op. I don't wish you no bad blood because you from the crib, but nah, bro. That's all. We good over here, man.
I'm not rooting for you this year, basically.
2 times a year.
2 times a year. We don't like it.
Oh, not even 2 times a year. I'm not. You're a Jet. I don't care about you, bro. Like, you're not on my fantasy team.
But Frank, you did bring up a good point I actually wanted to talk about. Now, when it comes to Wilkins, and that's one reason I think another reason why we didn't get Dalvin Cook. We'll focus on the contract dispute. Like when you said he'd been to training camp a couple times, was there any like ill will that it looked like? Did he look like there were issues there with the team?
Nah, if I'm gonna be honest with you, going to training camp, Christian Wilkins is still one of the hardest working people on that field. I'll never take anything from him, and he deserves every dollar that he's gonna get.
Yeah, he does.
So he's been consummate in my eyes.
Because I really think he was robbed of an All-Pro nod last year. I mean, all the games I watched, he was just one. Every announcer was talking about him, like, look, this guy is great. This guy is good. And he played well every game I saw. So, and also, too, have like the defensive line. Like, that's the thing. Down the stretch, like Miami actually played better defensively than people think. It's just like they were on the field a lot because we couldn't get anything going without Tua, I felt. Then I thought they played better than the Bills game. I thought the one that roughing the passer penalty, like really, that killed me. I think that's really kind of what hurt the momentum in that game. But yeah, also too, as breaking news that we had today, Jonathan Taylor is being given permission to seek a trade. Do you guys want to see the Dolphins trade for him, or are you staying in pat right now where we're at? Because we still have a couple good running backs. But Jay, let's start with you on this one.
This thing that I'm thinking about is like, I don't want to say, but the running back value in it, and we have like 4 good backs, and like, is it really worth gutting our draft capital and playing just for one dude?
And our Chain's injury doesn't look as bad as we first thought when he was carted off. So he's week to week at the moment, but hopefully he'll be able to be back sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. I don't think it's worth it. I feel like we have a good stable. We good.
The Colts are going to ask for a ransom.
I feel like
they don't want to pay him.
We have 4 backs for the price of 1. To be honest, if you want to for one elite one, so I don't really see a reason to just gut our draft capital to get him. I mean, it would have been cool, but nah, I'm straight. I think we're good where we're at.
You feel similarly, Frank?
Here's my thing. We could have had Jonathan Taylor instead of Noah Igubenagany. So
I remember that, and that killed me.
That like he should have been here, But here's the thing. Now I know what you're saying. I love our running backs: Mostert, A-Chain, Jeff Wilson, Devon, Myles Gaskin. I like watching all of them. If you make this move, if the Dolphins make the trade for Jonathan Taylor, it's to have a running back for the next 4 to 5 years. Because Mostert, Wilson, they're on 1-year contracts. Savon and Myles Gaskin might have reached the end of their tenure, and they might get somewhere else. and A-Chain young rookie with a back like Jonathan Taylor, that's a 1-2 punch that Mike McDaniel would probably love to have.
Yeah.
So I think right now, I agree with Jay over here. But if you think future Miami Dolphins and trying to be that perennial contender, it might be the move you have to make for the future.
All right. Well, I like those opinions on that. Well, let's get to the AFC East preview.
Hold on, right quick. I feel like it's a move. It's like I feel like he has 1 year left.
Do you feel like it's one of luxury? Is that what you're saying? Like it feel like it'll be a move of luxury instead of necessity?
Yeah, it'll be a luxury, but it's more about the contract or what he's seeking or whatever like that. How many years does he have left on his contract?
He's not a first round pick, so he doesn't get that kicker that they usually get. He was second round, so this is the last year of his contract.
So my thing is, if anything, we could reassess it at the end of the year. Like right now, I feel like it doesn't make any sense. But
okay. Well, I think I agree with you, Frank. Like if you're doing that, then you can franchise him and try to work out that long-term deal, but that didn't work. Like, see the way it worked out this summer with the running backs. That did not work out at all. So maybe that gives you an edge. You're able to keep kind of that control over him. But if he's not going to sign it, then there's that issue too. So
I think it also Wilkins deal, because if they spend Wilkins and maybe like Sealer and Connor Williams, who I think all three of them should get their contracts redone, it'll probably free up cap space to make other moves. But they have to get those done first. We have to take all in for us.
Yeah, because Miami, like I said, Miami's an expensive team. They haven't even paid Tua yet, and then you got Waddle coming up next year. I think because you have to exercise option next year. Yeah. So Miami, there's real room that can be had, but they have to make their moves quick. They got to be decisive with it. So I agree with you on that. All right, let's get to the AFC East now. We've already kind of previewed it the way that we see it, but for sure the Bills have been king. Can Miami dethrone them, or is there somebody else that we're not looking at? Like I know Julian is on this podcast on April 29th, 2023, saying the Jets were going to jet and that they were not going to.
I will insert that excerpt right here. I'm telling you. I'm going to insert that right here. I'm going to have a hot take here. I think the Jets are the Jets. I'm saying here right now, bruh, no difference. There's no difference. You're still not going to play to make the playoffs. No. Something's going to happen. The Jets are the Jets. You're not beating Miami. You're not beating Buffalo. You're not beating. Well, look at the rest of the AFC landscape. You got Lamar with his new revamped offense, new offensive coordinator. You still have the Cincinnati. You still have the Chargers.
Not going anywhere.
You still have the KC.
Jacksonville's getting better.
You have a new coach and Sean Payton in Denver.
Hey, so hold on, just to start right there. Hey, last year they lost to the Bills 20-12 with Zach Wilson. That's all I'm gonna say.
And they beat the Bills.
That's all. They beat the Bills 2017 with probably Zach Wilson too.
I think that was Mike White.
I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat myself. The Jets are gonna be the Jets. They're gonna. We
didn't write this down today because I'm betting against.
Oh no!
I think
April 29th, 2023. The Jets are gonna be the Jets.
They beat Aaron Rodgers 2017.
Hey, bro.
They beat his team without him.
I'm telling you, the Jets are like, oh yeah, we're him, whatever like that. We beat Aaron Rodgers, whatever will happen.
Didn't make the playoffs.
They
choked it, really.
All right, so let's get a preview of AFC East. How do we view the order of it? Let's start off with you, Frank.
Okay, I already told you, I have the Dolphins as the winners of the AFC, right?
Yes.
Much as I hate to admit it, I know the Bills have been running it for years, and they think they've won every Super Bowl for the last 5, but they haven't. Come in second place. And the Bills are going to come in third, and the Patriots will be the 4th team. But I think this is the year the Bills fall way back.
Oh, okay.
All right. I like it. What about you, Jay? What do you think?
Well, you know me. April 29th, how I felt. I'm going to go like this one straight up. Jets are number 4. I have the Patriots number 3. They made the playoffs. just to spite the Jets.
This is
The Bills are number 2 and Dolphins number 1. Like I said before, the Jets are gonna jet. I've been watching Hard Knocks. Everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Oh my God, Aaron Rodgers. Oh no, man, no.
Watch ESPN too. I see.
Remember the last time a Packers quarterback? Remember the last time Packers quarterback came over to the Jets and he was a savior? I remember.
Yeah, the Finns won.
Pepper's Farm remembers. We remember.
So just like always, history will repeat itself. I think Salah said it in the show too. Like, you can't remove that stink from the Jets. You can't remove that stink that they have. So it's like, man, like, yeah, it's 1 Dolphins, 2 Bills. No. Yeah, 1 Dolphins, 2 Bills, 3 Patriots, and 4 Jets.
For me, I agree with Frank on this one. I'll switch the Bills and the Jets, and I have the Patriots in the 4th. But I think the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. I am just really confident in this team. One, I'm excited to see how this defense works. I really like Rick Fangio, defensive coordinator wise. I don't think he was the best head coach, but I really like how Mike McDaniel, there was an issue and he addressed it. I think that he's a leader. I think that they fall. Also, I think, him ingratiating himself in South Florida culture this summer and everything, being at the Panthers games, being at the Heat games, being there for South Florida, kind of getting into all that, all the championship vibes that we've had this summer. I think it really goes into Miami. I think that, we're going to keep it going. So the AFC East, I really think, is there for the taking. Can take it. I'm just, of course, I'm worried, hopefully Armstead can get back by week 1. I'm a little bit worried about the offensive line, but I do like what I saw from Tua when he came taking hits, like the other day. And I know it's something that you don't want to get excited about, but, it looks like he's being smarter. It looks like he's investing in his future. And that's the whole point. Because the thing is, this is his year. If he doesn't do it this year, he's not going to get that long-term contract from the Dolphins, and they're going to have to start over. So you have to look, one, it's a big contract year for Tua. It's Tyreek Hill is like, look, I'm going to get 2,000 yards, and we're going to the Super Bowl. When your leaders like that, when your leaders are engaged like that, even though Ramsey has an injury, he's over there coaching. It gets you excited. It really gets you excited for what you're going to see. So I think, I agree. AFC East is for the Dolphins this year, in my opinion. All right.
I like.
And so let's move on from the AFC East to the AFC. So Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Dolphins. Who do you think is going to take the AFC this year? Or at least the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, and who do you think is going to the Super Bowl? Start off with you, Frank.
Oh, get to start again. I list the playoff teams that I have coming out of the year.
Ahead.
I didn't rank them, but I got these playoffs teams. Now, ready for this one? 3 teams at the East are going to make it.
I actually agree with you. I agree. I think we all have, because AFC East is going to be really top heavy. I feel. So go ahead. What's your 3 teams?
So we got Chiefs, and you can actually have this in order like this: Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, Jaguars, the Jets, Bills, and Bengals. That's my playoffs.
I have the same thing except for the Jets, but
yeah, well,
you have the Jets. Yeah, who do you have switched out with the Jets? Is the Patriots?
Yeah, the Patriots.
Okay. I mean, I do. I like the Ezekiel Elliott move. I do, and the Patriots are always going to be well coached. I just don't think that. I don't believe in Mac Jones. That's really my issue.
No,
I don't believe in Mac Jones either, but I believe in the Jets less than I do the Patriots. That's what they come down to. Because honestly, the Patriots shouldn't have gone like what they went. They went 7-10. No, 8-9.
Yeah, no,
they went 8-9.
Yeah.
So like
the Patriots could have. The Patriots would have beat the Bills last year. They would have gone to the playoffs, and we would have stayed home.
So I'm surprised about that. Like, I think that's on the work off.
No, I actually. Those are my playoff teams too. One, I think the Ravens can be really scary if they're able to develop that chemistry. I love the Zay Flowers pick. I love Odell Beckham Jr. going on that team. I know he didn't play last year, but seeing what he did with the Rams and seeing also how Cleveland reacted to him leaving, I know he has that reputation of being a bad teammate, but with what happened with Cleveland, it looks like for me, it wasn't him who was the problem. Now, what his dad did, I don't condone. But if basically when someone's dad does that and the locker room still has your back, that shows like how bad it was really with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland and how good it was for him and how much people loved him there. So I think he's gonna have a really positive outlook on that offensive play room. And then, just his ability, honestly, too, is gonna really put it over the top. I feel so. The Ravens can be really scary. Of course, one dark horse I have from those teams because I'm with you on that. I think even the same order. I think I do think the Ravens and Jaguars could split because the Jaguars team actually is really, really talented. Now, everyone they're saying with Ridley too putting back on that team, that offense can be really scary. I feel. The Steelers are always going to be a team that's there because of Mike Tomlin. This is what's crazy to me is Mike Tomlin has never had a sub 500 season as a Steelers coach. It's been 16 years now. That's an incredible stat. If the Dolphins had that, I'd be a much happier person than I am right now. But that even with last year, with them being right, they were not a talented team last year. Let's put that out there right there. They were still able to get to 9 wins. That's incredible. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And so they're always going to be a sleeper for me. But I think one of the issues that they have right now, their running game, I think their offensive line, the issues. That's why I give the Ravens and the Bengals a bit of an edge over them. Even though I still don't like the Bengals offensive line. But the Bengals just have too much offensive talent for them to not go to the playoffs, in my opinion. So, but look out for the Steelers. But yeah, I agree with you. 3 AFC East teams, I think. Mm-hmm. So, but when it comes to home, who we think is the AFC Championship game this year? Then? If we had to pick one right now in August, who do you think is playing the Dolphins? Jay, you want to go on first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I mean, I'm not ready to say that they go to the AFC Championship game.
I'm manifesting it this year.
Oh man, you know what happened last year though. Things go wrong, man. Like I do think they're gonna win a playoff game. I do think that they're gonna win a playoff game for the first time since
Jay Fiedler.
Jay Fiedler in 03, 02?
2000. No, 2000.
2000?
2000,
Okay.
2001. I think it was against the Colts.
So I see that happening, but man, I'm gonna be positive, man. Like I think it's gonna be Chiefs and Dolphins.
What do you think, Frank?
Tyreek Bowl.
Yeah, I would say the Chiefs and the Dolphins. It has to be. I don't think it's too tough for any teams to beat Chiefs in the playoffs. So like if
they have the number 1 seed, yeah,
I will say this: like the Chiefs do have a tough schedule from what I'm looking at, and so do the Bengals. The Bengals have probably the toughest schedule from what I can see.
That's why I think really one because we play the AFC West this year, and so they play at us, and that's a tough schedule too. Like it's going to be between like the AFC West, AFC East, those number 1 seeds, those top seeds, because they all play each other, really. So, but that's why I think you could flip the Ravens, could get in there because I think they do have a little bit of easier schedule. I feel, but the Bengals don't though, because the Bengals ended up winning that division last year.
Yeah, they got
that's gonna be a tough one.
The Bengals are in a rough patch too because Joe Burrow's been hurt. He hasn't been practicing.
Yeah, is he scheduled for week 1 or what?
Zach Taylor says he looks better than ever, but there is no other update on his status other than that. Right now, he is still week to week. So I'll say this: if he does not play, that changes everything. That's definitely Steelers in that second spot, in my opinion. Joe Burrow is just the equalizer for that team, even with how bad an offensive line is.
Well, so, right? He said that if it was up to him, he would tell Joe Burrow, "Don't play until you're ready, 100%."
Well, yeah, that's your future. That's your future. You have to invest in it. Like the Bengals are probably the most stark. I feel bad for the Bengals worse than I feel for any other team, probably besides maybe the Browns. But some of the things that they've gone through with Carson Palmer with the torn ACL in the playoff game. Like that team was really good. That was a very good team. I think they could have done what the Steelers did. They could have gone to the Super Bowl that year, but the chips just don't fall. And then like the way but I begrudgingly I really like Joe Burrow. I like that team. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. They just have a lot of talent on the team. That's a tough out. And you know what? They're always up for the game. So you know what? I like competition. I want to beat you at your best, but
I'm still going to
a lot better about that.
100%. I agree with
you. All right. So, all right, move on for the AFC. We won't do Super Bowl picks yet. We'll do that as the season goes on. But previewing the NFC this year. The Eagles are great. Can they keep it going? The 49ers, Cowboys are still lurking. But is there a challenger, a sleeper that we're not looking at in the AFC? Let's go with you, Jay. Let's start with.
Oh, man. I got to think it through a little bit more. Because I'm not as high as on the 49ers as everybody else is anymore. I don't like that. It's a lot of uncertainty at quarterback. I mean, if there's any team in the league that could do whatever without a quarterback, it's the 49ers, but
they get to the NFC Championship every year without a quarterback, basically.
Yeah, but it's never a good sign to go into the year without that much uncertainty.
That's true. I'll give you that. But what do you think, Frank? Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to go like dark horse sleeper, and I have them winning their division, the Atlanta Falcons. I think
that's a good one.
I think the Falcons are going to surprise a lot of people. I have them winning the NFC South because they're young, talented, and they have a coach who likes to run the football, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, and two. So I think the Falcons are a big sleeper to make some noise in the NFC this year.
And you know what? I think I have my sleeper as well. I'm going with the Lions.
The Lions? So you like how they ended the season last year?
Like how they ended the season, like how the moves that they made. Yeah, I'm liking the feel of it. Yeah, I think I'm going with the Lions.
I mean, I like the receiving core a lot. Jameson Williams, Amon St. Ra, they are really good. That's a really good team. I think that was one of my sleepers too. I do think the Vikings take a big step back, though.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because I don't think they did enough to address that defense. In my opinion,
they lost talent on the defensive side. Didn't they?
Yeah, they did. In my opinion, I'm not sure they did enough in the draft to kind of shore up that or did enough moves because basically that's why you lost to a Giants team that, in my opinion, has two players. Yeah, at home. You had no business losing that game. No business losing that game. You have Justin Jefferson on your team against the Giants. Yeah, that should be enough for you to at least get through to another round. But that was embarrassing for me. Also, too, I think the Giants take a step back because of all this drama that they had with Saquon Barkley. And two, I think them choosing to pay every single other person on that team but Saquon Barkley is not going to go over well, in my opinion. But, that's my opinion.
They paid Daniel Jones, like, really? Over Saquon Barkley? I don't know, man.
Like I said, every other they paid their defensive tackle. I think they paid Dexter Lawrence. They paid everybody but Saquon Barkley. So for me, that's not a good look because he had 365 touches last year, 123 touches more than anyone else on that team. That's not a good look. Mm-hmm. But I understand the injury history to a certain extent. There should have been some type of middle ground that you could have got to, I feel, with that. But that's why I think they take a step back. I feel like the Giants are going to go right back to fourth in the NFC East next year. But, we'll see with that. But for me, even I understand where the hesitancy with the 49ers, but they've gone to the NFC Championship the last 3 years basically without a quarterback. And I really don't see that changing because the NFC West I still don't really believe in. I still don't really believe in the Rams. The Cardinals are a mess and are going to continue to be a mess, in my opinion. And the Seahawks, I'm not sure if it was a flash in the pan for last year with Geno Smith. I mean,
that's another thing.
Yeah, I do like the moves. I like getting a lot. Not a lot, Jackson Smith and Njigba there. Yeah. I do think that's good. I think they're going to challenge for 9-8 wins because they're a really well coached team. But does Geno Smith step back a little bit or does he continue to flourish? We have to see with that one. But yeah, but the Eagles, I really don't see even with the Cowboys, I think being a little bit better, shoring it up with Brandon Cooks, giving a good really good number 2 option to CD Lamb there. Like the Cowboys are they still going to cowboy? And that's basically what I'm thinking still. Like until they break through, they're not going to, in my opinion. So
they'll make the playoffs because
they'll make the playoffs, but I think the NFC is the Eagles to lose right now.
Yeah.
So but I do like that Falcons pick. I mean, the Saints are the Saints. I just don't know with them and the NFC South. And the NFC South is just terrible. So basically, if you can get to 9 wins, I think the Falcons can with that running game. Because I agree with you, Frank. If you're able to control the ball, keep the ball away from anyone else in that division, you'll probably be able to win it.
So do y'all believe in Ritter? Do y'all believe in Desmond Ritter like that, or
I don't think he's going to put Ritter in a position to fail though. You have those talented running backs, and Ritter can run. I think he can just be if he's a more efficient version of what Mariota was last year, I think they're going to be fine. So, but also too, I think the Bucs are just going to be terrible, and the Panthers is going to be a really rough year for them too. So really, the only competition in that division is the Saints because they have Derek Carr. But you need for them the Saints to succeed, they have to manufacture some type of running game, but they keep getting injuries in their running back room. And then Michael Thomas has got to be a fraction of what he was. And just we have no indication that they're going to happen. I do, but if they're able to get Michael Thomas into that role where he was, if he's able to get 1,000 yards, then that changes the conversation, in my opinion. But I don't think it's going to happen because nothing that's happened over the last 3 years suggests that to me. So I think it's just the Eagles to lose. And I just want one, I think they're going to be really, really motivated after what happened last year, losing out like that. And one, Jalen Hurts, I just think he's developing to a leader that I wasn't sure he was going to become. But I'm really, really impressed with him. And I'm really thinking it's going to continue on. So anything else to add about the NFC?
It's gonna be a wild west out there. It's gonna be like every week we're gonna see who's really real or not. Another thing too, I think. Do y'all feel like the Eagles kind of caught people off guard last year? So
yes.
So do you think that'll be continued this year? Like it might be prepared.
I think no, they won't. I don't think they're gonna catch people off guard. I'm just not sure it's gonna matter. I think that offensive talent that they have. Now, losing Miles Sanders is not something to sneeze at, but Miles Sanders really his best year was last year, so it's not that much of a loss. I think.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I really think that they're built to sustain. And the thing is, if you look back at the Eagles for probably the last decade or so, there's only really been like maybe two really bad years. Other than that, they've been in the playoffs. They've won a Super Bowl. They've been competitive. They've won a playoff game. I think 4 or 5 years. Yeah, so they always seem to be prepared. They've probably been one of the best teams in the NFC for the past decade, and that's really under the radar. Now, yeah, people are going to be up for them this year, but I think they have a good leadership structure that it's not going to matter. So, what do you think, Frank?
Well, honestly, like with the Eagles, if you look at it, they built their team the right way. It's the trenches, right?
Yeah,
they're all strength, D-line, phenomenal. They have the entire Georgia Bulldogs championship defense back there.
You can't go wrong with that. Not at all. Never
that. But they did catch people off guard. I just wonder if that QB sneak is going to be as effective this year. You got to think that
no, it's probably not.
Trying to stop that QB sneak because it was the most effective at gaining 1 yard for 3rd and short or a 3rd and goal or whatever. It was the most effective QB sneak I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I already like Jalen Hurts' mentality though, and he might just surprise everybody and do an MVP type of season.
I mean, he was really like if he didn't miss those games, he would have challenged Patrick Mahomes for the MVP last year. I feel
sure would have.
But also too, his strength, I think, is one thing that catches people off guard. Like he sets records for deadlifts and stuff like that in that locker room. I mean, when you're a quarterback, I think that's one thing why the Chiefs also. Because when your quarterback is the hardest working person in the room, and they see that's someone you want to go fight for. I think that's what the Eagles have right now, and I think that's what a lot of these teams in the AFC and because the AFC has a lot of good young quarterbacks, and they see the work ethic that they all have. They want to go fight through a wall. They want to go running through a wall for these guys. I think that's why it's different. I think that's why the 49ers won't be able to get over the hump. So they figure out who they're going to run through the wall for. Yeah, I think that's going to be the issue. All right. So let's get down to the end of it. We're going to talk a little bit fantasy football now. Frank wrote an article about the Dolphins fantasy options on here. So I did want to start off with him right there because giving those options with us and like who you want to go for your home team. Now you don't want to be too homerish, but still there are still players that you can target. So Frank, I'll give the floor to you for that one.
Well, honestly, like the article I wrote, obviously dolphinstalk.com, so I had to highlight the best players on the team, but I don't think there's a fantasy football player out there who wouldn't want to have Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle on their team.
Yeah, he helped me a lot last year.
They're top. Waddle in a PPR league, Tyreek Hill if you got a big bonus league, because once he hits the Jets, he's gone. Look at the Ravens last year. And the running backs, we're going to go. It's going to be a heavy committee.
It's going to be a hot hand type thing. So it's kind of like, because I had Jeff Wilson last year. And I did get to my championship game, but like I played the matchups. So like I had the Browns game, I played them. He gave me a go. So I was like, oh, the Texans game. Texas has the worst run defense in history. Let's play him. He had 1 touchdown, like 10 yards. So it's just like, come on, man. It's just, that's what's going to be a little bit tough.
But McDaniel might commit to the run this year. He said he wants to run the ball more. He said he wants to commit to it. So, but it's a huge committee. You all know. Or 5 guys. 6 now. Apparently, this Derek Brooks kid is picking it up.
Yeah,
he played really well the other day.
It's a mess. Great for us, but it's a mess for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Where do you see Tua at when it comes to his ranking?
No lower than QB8.
I agree. I think it'll be good to have a 2 team because of the weapons that he has. But if you're trying to go for a top tier, it's like not quite, but still.
You won't early, but if you're sitting there in the 6th, 7th round and you need a QB after you've loaded up the better half of your roster, yeah, Tua is going to be great. I can see him between the 12 to 17 point range on average, and if you have top tier wide receiver and running back getting you 18 to 22, then 12 to 17 from your quarterback is pretty solid.
Yeah,
that'll work. You have any insights for us, Jay?
No, I would ask Frank a question. What do you think about having a Dolphins defense as a fantasy option?
They're honestly on the top of my list.
Oh, really?
Fangio. Yeah. I didn't mention this earlier, but Jalen Phillips, dark horse defensive player of the year candidate. And Bradley Chubb on the other side. If Jalen Ramsey can come back for the back half of the season, I see a lot of turnovers and I see a lot of sacks. And that's points.
That's basically what you need.
Yeah.
That's what you need for the fantasy defense. Dolphins defense is near the top of my list too.
Yeah.
They got me points last year.
Low key.
I mean, they weren't the best, of course, but they got me points last year.
Do you think the special teams will be more improved? Do you think Barrios will help that, or what's up?
I like Barrios like a chain there. I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to get touchdowns without a chain, but Barrios is a good returner. What do you think, Frank?
No, I agree. I think it's tough now because the league has kind of moved away from big players and stuff like that. But watching Barrios and A-Chain move on their punt returns just in camp, like the way they move their bodies and the quickness they have in their feet and to change direction, it's possible. Will it happen often enough to be excited? But it'll happen occasionally. I think we'll have at least 2 or 3 punt returns, maybe a kick return. I don't know if they can even do that anymore.
Yeah.
I like
How do y'all feel about that? Like the NFL taking it away for I really like that the kickoff returns in football.
I think if they're committed to safety, I understand where they're coming from because most of those career-ending neck injuries happen on kickoffs because of the lack of safety. So I understand that. The NFL has just not done a good job of protecting their players long term, and I think this is one of the ways that you go in that direction. Now, am I saying it's not one of the most cited plays in NFL? Of course it is. I love watching kick returns, love watching punt returns. It's awesome. Like Dante Hall, Devin Hester, some of my favorite players growing up. It's like that. The thought of even them getting the ball and even Cordero Patterson too, them being inches away from getting a kick return touchdown is one of the most exciting plays in football. But You have to do what you can to protect your players and protect your investment. So I understand where that's coming from. All right. So anything else to add, gentlemen? When we come before I get into my fantasy tips and everything.
Man, I'm just excited about the season, man. I can't wait.
Yeah. I'm excited too. And what I'm excited to get drafting with the fantasy football too. That's going to be happening the next couple of weeks with a couple of our leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing I'll say, like for my tips and everything like that, like Frank made a good point when if you're loading up on receivers and running backs in the first rounds and stuff like that. One good tip I usually do, because this is what I did last year and kind of got me to a championship. I got Justin Jefferson in the first round. I got Kirk Cousins in the later rounds. One, giving that handcuff, that part, getting double points for those touchdowns that you can get for those yards and everything. I think that helps you out in the long run. If you're going to pick a strategy, don't always be afraid. Like wherever you're at in the draft as well, don't be afraid to get who you want. Oh, you don't want to overreach for a player. You want to just look, if you're at the end of the draft, if you have 2 players to get who you want, because I guarantee you they won't be there the next time you come around. Now, you want to hope that you get a middle round pick, like a 5th pick, so you kind of be at the same place in every draft. So it's easier for you to basically plan out your strategy. But the best thing always, your first couple picks have to be hitters. You got to be people that you're going to get 20, 25 points from. So don't be scared to go after Travis Kelce at 6 if you really want him, because Travis Kelce is going to be a beast this year. Don't be scared to go after Christian McCaffrey if you really want him, even though with the injury history, because he's going to be a beast this year. Your number ones, set it and forget it. Now, your backups, look, always have the lookout on your rookies. For me, last couple of years, finding rookies during that have led to me to kind of championship games. One, I got Amon St. Rob Brown a couple years ago. I got Jalen Waddle a couple years ago, and that helped me get to championship game because by the end of the year, guys are getting like 10 catches, 100 yards every game, especially in the PPR league. So they're going to get a lot of points, so you want to be able to catch in on that. So watch for Jackson Smith and Njigba. The John Robinson, of course, everyone's going to look out for that. But not only that, look out for Jahmyr Gibbs out there in Detroit. I think he's going to be really, really good for a really good offense. And the one thing I'll add, if you're getting a kicker, simple as this, get a kicker from a high-octane offense. That's just simple. Because even if they don't get field goals, they're going to get a lot of touchdowns, so you're going to get a lot of points that way. So as far as player lists, we'll do that week to week for everybody. When it comes in, we'll put it on our Instagram page for you guys because, we love you guys and we want you guys to have a successful fantasy season. So anything else we had to add, gentlemen?
I'm good.
Actually,
go ahead.
I got a story about Russ St. Brown too, because in his rookie year, right before I drafted him, I was like, yo, this is my sleeper right here for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Draft, right? For the first couple weeks, didn't do anything. Had to drop him because of injuries. Picked him back up late in the season when he started dropping like 30 points a game.
Yeah.
In fact, I benched him because Jared Goff got hurt. If I hadn't benched him, I would have won my league that year because I didn't trust him.
He had a crazy game that year. I played him. But the thing is, I lost my championship game because my opponent had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase had 250 yards that game. And Burrow had 350 yards with 4 touchdowns. I scored 189 points and lost by 70 points in my championship game that year. Starting Amon St. Rob, Najee Harris, I started Jalen Waddle. They all had crazy games, but I lost by almost 100 points because of Jamar Chase. So sometimes also that's another thing too. Sometimes no matter how good your team is, if someone has a freakishly good game, you're going to be out of it. So
yeah, like that.
All right. This was awesome. I am so excited for this season. The first game is September 10th against the Chargers in LA. Remember to set your DVRs for it. Thank you so much, Frank, for coming out. We miss you, Dap. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Jay, Music Nerd. Thank y'all. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see y'all soon. Thank y'all. Bye-bye.